Right. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
peace,
peace, freedom and justice.
freedom and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
my salvation,
By night and by day,
by night and by day,
through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Noble Drew Ali.
Amen. All right, so we got the divine warning by the prophet for the nations. All citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and to go back to that state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and origin and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under a free national constitution of the United States government and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing conditions for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those who know law in the city hall and amongst the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into the light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity and mind back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. That the Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. If all other governments, in all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his free national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standard of law by name and principle, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issues and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word color deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and mothers, your days will be lengthened upon the earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendment brought the North and South in union, placing the Southerners, who were at the time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced in 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving cardinal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. Without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to enforce upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South, and have examined conditions there, and is the works of my people continuously practicing the things that bring dishonor, disgrace, disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into the marvelous light from the prophet, Islam. Islam. Some transition. The prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple, the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, left you. This, or I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Islam, Noble Drew Ali. Amu Islam. See you up in there.
Islam, Noble. What's going on?
Going through the lessons, man.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So I'm gonna translate to a book called Spirituality Before Religion. And the reason I'm going over it is to set the tone for, like the book said, before it was dogmatic religion, we get a sense of what the original people of the land based religion on, or based, celebrations on, or whatnot. Right? So this is the book. by the brother Professor Kaba Hayawata. Right. So we're dealing with spiritual involution. Early spiritual philosophy was based on agricultural science. That's the where we're at, right? Early spiritual philosophy was based on agricultural science. Right? So nature was humanity's first teacher. Early humans saw a pattern in earthly and cosmic nature, which is dealing with planetary, right? Cosmic. As above, so below. Nature taught humanity that as their consciousness grew, they would find their answers on the living earth. While looking up into the heavens, right? While looking up to the heavens. I'll let somebody else in. So nature taught humanity that as their consciousness grew, they would find their answers on the living earth. While looking up into the heavens, they saw similar relationships between living earth and the eternal heavens. So, right, we found similarities. That's the whole principle, as above, so below. The original people of the planet made that connection, like it's a correlation, right? And once again, it's not a Moorish author. So we're taking books that are not people that prescribe to be Moorish per se, but it's still the info that takes you, it's still more science, hermetic principles, right? All right. So rhythms, vibrations, patterns, and frequency. Recognitions enhance order, enhance higher order, thinking skills in African consciousness, right? This basic model gave rise to concepts of cycles in nature, but also to the earliest forms of mathematics and science. So we're taking mathematics and science came from observation, right? Angles, distance from planets, angles of light. That's all geometry, right? There's a direct and indirect link among the early development of the calendar based on this observation, the rhythm of the stars, the human body, and the environment, including the rhythms of the river over millions of years. This recognition brought about comparative image of creative energy in agriculture. Agriculture was the key to the development of early spiritual philosophy. Everybody knows what agriculture is, right? Farming, knowing how to work the land. So that was the key philosophy, knowing how to work the land. In order to know how to work the land or farm, you need to know the cycles of the moon on when and Venus, when to plant.
Well, I know about Venus is involved for planting, not the moon. I thought just the moon.
Moon and Venus, because Venus is dealing with the growth patterns of and seedling blossoming. Yeah.
But does Venus like mean spring or something like that?
Yeah, vernal. You say vernal.
Okay,
That's it.
okay.
Vernal equinox, spring. Yeah. So most farmers practice more science, or all farmers practice more science. You need to know the cycles of the moon.
So would hydroponics be like not science, not more science?
Hydroponics is water to grow.
Yeah. It's not using more everything artificial light indoors.
You're replicating the heavens. You're creating a mirror image.
It's not taboo, though, is it?
It's not taboo, but it's not direct to the source. But the people that create that, they know the source. They know how to actually farm. And then they can direct. That's just like somebody that knows a live instrument, but when things kind of transition to digital and the keyboard and Triton, they still know how to play that saxophone sound because they know how to play the real instrument. So, but that doesn't mean the Triton is a real instrument, though. You know what I'm saying? That kind of answered your question. Yeah. This recognition brought about the comparative image of the creative energy in architecture. Architecture was the key development in early spiritual philosophy, just as the seeds of plants in the earth went through a process of conception, birth, growth, aging, decay. So, right, plants, seeds go through the same process humans do. This was the observation. Oh, okay, the plants, right? Everybody follow me?
So the birth, growth, and age.
Right. Islam to Maya Vasquez, Sharissa Faucher. So, right, so the seeds go through the process of conception, birth, growth, aging, death, and decay, and resurrection, right? Because apple tree, apples fall, seeds fall on the ground. That tree might die, but it's going, right? Its image is still in the seed. So did the tree really ever die? So that concept is the same principle with humans, right? All right. So this is what we observed. Observation is a scientific perspective. When you're dealing with science, observation is the most key thing you can do. You're observing. All right. So this is what the observation of our people came to conclusions. Oh, it's a direct correlation with the planetary energy. Oh, it's a direct correlation with the plants and me. Certain things I eat, it make me feel superhuman. Oh, okay, I mean, certain fruits, certain, you know what I mean? We start mushrooms and certain things that help us tap in or whatever. We start figuring these things out as we nomadically traverse the earth. Nomadic just means to travel, right? So we start figuring out stuff, right? All right. It was during the Neolithic period between 1830, 18,317,000 that nature taught humans about spirituality. So y'all can look up the Neolithic period, like on the Google search or whatnot, to get a sense.
NEOLITHIC.
Yep.
Neo,
Neolithic.
Neolithic.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. Anybody on the Zoom who got questions, just kind of let me know because I'm not always looking at the.
So the later point of the Stone Age.
Oh, okay, Islam, my mother got you.
Yeah, Islam.
But sometimes if I don't see it, just kind of like just let me know or something.
No, it's good. More.
Islam. All right, so the development of agricultural science acted as the bridge between superstitious and belief in faith, and faith in scientific knowledge of the divine. Right? Why is that? Why did it go from just believing to knowing? Because once you start dealing with things and you start seeing, oh, 1 + 1 is 2, it's no longer a belief, right?
It's quantifiable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Replicatable.
So once we start dealing and start doing things and tampering with nature, oh, this food does this for me. It makes me feel energized. Okay. That's what it is. For all humans are in science. It's like, okay, ginger. Oh, my headache's gone because I took some ginger. Okay, now that's what ginger do for me. From now on, if I get a headache, I know I got a ginger. We just kept adding things to the tool belt that we discovered, right? And then passed it on to the youth. So the youth didn't have to nomadically discover. We just passed down, this is what this do. Now they know it off top. And then when they discover things in their childhood and they grow up, they have stuff to pass down. Or they can take it further faster. They ain't got to wait till they're 30 years old. Because some people might take 30, 40 years to reach a certain type of wisdom. You want to just pass that down to somebody that's coming out the womb. So they can just keep pushing.
Like how birds know the stars from birth.
Right. Yeah. Yep. All right. African agriculturalists noticed that planting of a man's sperm seed within a woman's body fertilized her egg, was like planting a seed in the earth, right? When this people take this for granted now, but originally, like this was discovery. You know what I'm saying? All this was new. Upon fertilization, they reported a period of development in the earth or gestation until the plant bloomed or human birth. The plant matured, or the human matured or the plant matured. Aged, died, and grew again the next season. Right? The plant and the human, direct correlation. The sun's physical orb was not given direct credit for this creation. It was the light, heat, and sound energy emitted from the sun's rays traveling to Earth that was credited for life on Earth. See how specific that is? So you could just say, oh, they're sun worshipers. Was it? That'd be like kind of misleading to call our ancestors sun worshipers without going into the more detail. We knew what the sun did for us on multiple levels and used that for technology. Like right now, we got solar panels, right? That's another example of the technology that was created based on knowing the properties of what the sun does, right? Amongst other things.
What were the doing, things you said it was, the vibration of the sun, sound, sun sounds?
Oh, it was the light, heat,
Light,
sun, waves, the Trinity, I guess. Light, heat, sun.
sun.
Mhm.
Doesn't sun imply heat and light?
Yeah,
It's like 1 + 1 is 2.
but those are two different entities though.
Light plus heat equals sun,
Because heat and light is different things.
but together they make sun.
The element, yeah, and gas. There's gases in the sun too.
Okay.
Over millions of years, Africans became conscious to the pattern among all living things that existed. This cosmic, earthly, and organic, or plant, animal / human pattern led to a study of what we call today science of spirituality, or science and spirituality. Science, which is dealing with all knowledge. So when we say in science, we're dealing with all knowledge. When we say in Gnostic, we're dealing with knowledge, contrary to belief. Just look up Gnostic, Gnos.
Hold on, so science is all knowledge, Gnostic is just
Knowledge.
knowledge. I don't understand the difference.
Because when you're dealing with science, you're dealing with Allah. And Allah is all law. What I mean by that is everything is measurable. Everything has an exactness,
Okay,
right?
okay,
So therefore, you're not dealing with belief, you're dealing with an exactness.
okay.
So when I say I'm a Gnostic versus a believer, I'm saying I'm one that knows. I don't believe. I know it to be fact based on trial, observation, statistic. 1 + 1 is 2. There's no debate, right?
22, 22, 11. Man, like,
It's 2,
we're 11.
but 11 is 2.
Look at it.
But I mean, but 1 + 1 is 2. 3 + 3
Yeah.
is 6. Well, ain't no debating that.
Come on now.
So we do consider ourselves as Gnostics.
That's
in our
Gnostics.
science. I'm a Gnostic believer.
No, you just
I'm not a
Gnostic.
believer. I'm believing. I know.
But you're a knower.
Practitioner?
Knower.
Yeah, Gnostic. If everybody's look up Gnostic, you'll see kind of what it's
So
based.
Gnostic is above science, or is it
It's
like
a parallel. It's in the same vein.
okay?
Because science is dealing with knowing. A Gnostic wants to know, so a Gnostic will participate in
And
science.
science too.
Right. To know.
Just right.
Yeah.
It's like, in this case, it's like the solidified facts, and then.
Yeah.
It's like the thinking, everything else is like believing is like the thinking, okay, maybe potentially could be this.
Right.
Right. We don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, that's the key, knowing.
But
That's
the
it.
thing about the word science, it's this point, we know there's an answer for it, that's the answer.
Right.
We put it up, we put the science, so that we can find the answer.
Mhm.
Like, I believe my child is in school. I don't know.
In this same paragraph, we discussed Gnostic sciences and science. All sciences, to my understanding, are like very masculine based, because it's codifying things.
Science, it deals with both masculine and feminine.
Really, I thought the feminine wasn't part of science. I thought that was like can't be explained part.
No, that's how they promote it in like patriarchal settings, institutions. They won't deal with that. The feminine. But for example, a scientist would know left brain and right brain, right? One dealing with creativity, one dealing with more logic, right? So those sides dealing with creativity is dealing with intuition as well. So the creativity and intuition side of your brain those are feminine energies.
Mm.
Logic, preciseness,
Mm.
boom, 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 that's masculine energy.
Yeah, my understanding is that feminine or the yang side can't be quantified. Like it's hard to quantify creativity versus strength. I mean, or brute force of measurements. So that's why it feels like anti-science to say feminine is in science. You can't quantify it.
I see where you're trying to go with it, but it's all of this in play though.
Yeah.
In all science, because all animals have intuitive, like you look at, if you observe cats, for example, you'll see the intuition. It's very keen, but you also see like they get to business too. They can get very systematic in their approach, which is a masculine trait.
For example, like with play, like when cats play, human play games, whatever, there's no formula how to play. There's the rules of the game, but to playing it, you just have to feel it. And you can't really quantify, you can record it, that concept. And also I was kind of curious when you said like we embody nature taught us looking up, looking at the stars as above, so below. It seems odd to conceive what taught us to become man. Like a tree isn't taught to be a tree, or a cat isn't taught to be a cat to have sex. So for us to figure out how to have sex is like it's a weird world to conceive. Like to exist without knowing the general, like our baby brains of our own selves.
Instinctive. You got instincts and you got observation kind of go together.
Yeah.
So if a cub or kitten, they're gonna be observing what their mom's doing. Most part, just to get a hang of things, and then they're gonna be just trying stuff. Oh, that didn't work. This worked. You know what I mean? And then you see that horseplay just to get a sense of like they might need to fight or something. When they get older, they practicing off top. Nobody telling them to shadow box
Or just like babies, when the babies are born, they just know how to suck.
yeah, right. To go straight to the nipple
And straight to the nipple.
instinctively.
Even my baby cats, they eat loose, they go straight to it. And if I put my baby up to my breast, it'll just like, it's instinctive. So you can't really.
And see the science, and once you know, like, okay, how the energy works, that's the whole man and woman in harmony, because you're dealing with feminine and embodiment of masculine, even though each individual has both, but you need to learn how to deal with the feminine. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to make the masculine a better version of themselves, because it's the opposite side of the spectrum of things you're not comfortable with, and vice versa. You know, so once it comes together, that's a science on how to calibrate and make everybody better evolve. That's the science. So see how you took. I know what you. I get what you're saying. You're saying verifiable exactness is masculine energy, and that exactness is the science. I get what you're saying, but that intuitiveness for that masculine to balance out itself to make the masculine better is a scientific approach, because you're going to actually on purpose be around feminine energy to bring the best out of yourself. That's the science.
So it's like energy you can speak of, but not necessarily put a finger on.
Right. But you can feel it, and then it's results. Because if, for example, if I was isolated, I'm just going to do what I know how to do. I'm sure I'm in my comfort zone. But if I'm not pressed to do more, then I'm not going to grow. So once I do evolve myself around energies that gonna make me grow, and then months go past, and I'll be like, you know what? I'm doing more stuff based on this. That's a fact now. Now that's the science.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hindsight.
Science fact. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. That's the scientific approach. You're the scientist. You're dealing with different elements and ingredients. How can I put this together to make this? Right? 2 colors make another color sometimes.
Like what you said.
Don't red and yellow make orange?
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to make orange. Let me take red and yellow. That's scientific. You know, there was no orange before. You ready, right? All right, so there you go. So the priest and priestess express this sacred scientific symbols of their ideas on walls, stones, and potpourri, right? The glyphs on the pyramids, the scrolls, passed this down, right? It is important to remember that while Kemet, or quote unquote Egypt, or Hekupta, or Tamaray, I know, remember, this is not a Moore's author, so you can say Tamaray, would be more ancient. And that's how you hear the more in the word, Tamaray, you hear more, or Mauritania. This is everything before it was called anything Egypt. I'm just kind of putting it all out there. But he's saying Kemet, Egypt was the tongue of this wisdom Kush. Was the brain that first formulated the information based in their cultural common sense that was expressed on these Kemetic Kushite temple walls, coffins, and scrolls. So you see that common sense, cultural common sense. We were nomadic, we were seeing how things work, okay. Got that down, and then when we see something else is more new, but kind of similar, we'd be like, okay, we can use a similar rule of thumb just to see, and then go from there. Cultural common sense. Now we're dealing with the sun. Any question before I transition to the next segment? This first segment was dealing with agricultural and how we utilize that. Right, agricultural science was spiritual philosophy was rooted in agricultural science.
Agriculture, what, can you spell that, what is it, agriculture?
Agricultural,
Oh,
agriculture, dealing with,
agriculture. Okay, you pronounce it different.
yeah, I got a little,
Made a motto.
I got a little,
Oh, horticulture, horticulture.
agriculture,
Oh, no, you tell me.
Oh, I think it's agriculture.
no, agriculture.
Okay.
Oh, it's agriculture.
Yeah, just dealing with, dealing with the land.
Just put the R first.
Yeah, how to fertilize it, how to grow, what need, So that was the philosophy. All right. So now we're dealing with the sun, the ambassador of the creator. Professor William Leo Hansberry, noted African historian, believed that during the early evolution of humans in Africa, the first entity to be worshipped was the sun. And just a little side note, when we're saying Africa, just know in Latin, we're saying terra. And if we're saying terra, we're just saying land. So we know the Americas at large will be Northwest Africa in that context. And that'll be the oldest part of the world. Then we went and explored over there what most people think is Africa today. That's secondary Africa. Does that make sense?
I ain't heard that.
So in Latin, Africa means terra, which means
The
land.
whole world was
So the whole world is Africa. But North, Central, and South America and the islands will be the old part of the world.
America is the old world.
So this old,
When we say
Then we
the old
migrated
world,
to the other.
we mean old world after the breakup from Pangea kind of thing? Or like, is it like old world in Pangea? So everything's the old world. We just got broken like a cracker and the old world was everywhere.
We settled on this side.
yeah. So we're talking about humans settling and creating civilization.
So
What happened here first? But the actual land was over there, but we just traveled to it later.
Like discovered.
Discovered, yeah.
So like, I guess I have to separate the idea of like maybe origin in a single location, like as a human, like the first two people, or we already all here everywhere like a cracker broken up the salt everywhere.
Based on, for instance, if you're dealing with, like, say, the Olmec heads, stone heads, you're dealing with civilization that was in BC time, right? If you I guess a good example, when you cross-reference the dynastic periods, you know what those are, right? The different pharaohs periods, right? You got old dynastic period, you got pre-dynastic period, before it was even a dynasty or pharaoh system. So the Olmecs were around an old kingdom period, which is a dynastic period in America. So this says two things. For one, the pharaohs were here, because the Olmecs were here, right? And when you break down the pharaohs of Egypt, how they promoted and how we get taught K through 12, they're gonna be like, oh, the pharaohs were in Africa. They had different dynasties of pharaohs, right? All right. So when you cross-reference when were the Olmecs thriving, they're gonna say 1300 to 1800 BC or 2800 BC. That's the same time period that they're saying the pharaohs were ruling Africa.
Okay, so this is also under the same guise of separated, not Pangea. So they speak of a time when things weren't unified.
They're speaking of a time when things were under a dynastic period, but it was in America. That's my point. That's what I'm getting at is the Olmecs are original to America. The Olmecs weren't over southeast, southwest Africa. They were northwest, northeast Africa first. And then when they did go over there, they weren't called Olmecs anymore. They were called Carthaginians or the Empire of Mali,
So I guess I had to separate the
Sumerian.
So it's a hard time for me to separate, like, did man exist on the planet when the continents were unified? Or is it only post the breakup that man shows up? Because like, I think Adeli says that there never was a time that man was not. So if we were always here and then there was a whole plan together that broke apart, that means we're already on all the parts, like salt and cracker, just broken apart. So it's like, it's a weird logic to say who's first or second.
So when you talk about humans, that's one thing. Human development is one thing. The actual land is another thing. So if it's humans on one part of the earth and then we travel, that's all I'm saying. What they call the Homo sapien or the Sabian culture, people that practice Saba, were on the farthest west of the world, extreme west.
So there's a location for the birth of man. It wasn't like man was everywhere. That's what we're saying, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Right, exactly. We were nomadic and traveled to places that we had to make fertile, and we had to do that. But we took technology that we learned in the Americas, got good at it, and then expand the culture. That's why it's pyramids everywhere. But the oldest ones in Mexico City, in the Yucatan, right? South America, the Peru, the mountains in Mississippi. Those are the oldest pyramids. Some in Canada, they call Canada. And they got the steps. The ones that don't got the steps they promoted Egypt. But the fact that there's pyramids in other places of the world shows you that we expanded the culture that way. That's a case. That's a case in point. The architecture, the Taj Mahal style buildings, right? Things like that.
And I think like it's kind of hard to separate because I also hear some people's like, I hear so much hype about Africa being the mother continent, yada yada yada. And, you know, and they hear all the hype, so much programming. And then you also hear the story about like Africa had like a nuclear reactor like 100,000 years ago. So like that predates most of our things documented from American side. So like who's the oldest or is it all together? That's where it's not fully defined.
But see, when they're coming from, they're saying Africa's the motherland. If they're not coming from the context of, okay, yeah, we're in Africa right here, and they're promoting it like that's Africa, then it's disingenuous.
It's double speak.
It's double speaking. It's smoke and mirrors because they're trying to allude that we came from over there and then came over here, which promotes the the transatlantic slave trade situation, which is an all Freemasonic situation to have our people in North America to have an inferiority complex in present day, and you have this going on. Just when you fall for that, when people go under that paradigm, what's your nationality?
African. You say African.
I'm a person of color, African American, Black, because of that paradigm. Once you get this paradigm, you know, oh, I'm a Moor. Oh, I'm a Moroccan. In English, which is a later language, the dialect is the same. It's just pronounced American. Now you know you're from here. Now who got rights of indigenous people? I'm indigenous to the land. Oh, right? It's now all this scattered in the mind stuff. So that's why I say is once you know the whole information, mind you, this is the dojo. This is the dojo. So when we're talking to other people out that's not in the dojo, we can eloquently talk to them without being emotional. And like, okay, that makes sense. Let's link up. It's time to link up now. Let's link up. Everybody else linking up. Koreatown, Little Bangladesh, Chinatown.
Yeah.
But we just got to learn our nationality first to got that sense of pride where we're not arguing over silly reasons and getting emotionally, I'm messing with him. No other nationality act like that. Those are such small issues to not be united. You know, it's the smallest things with us break us up because we're emotionally unstable compared to other nationalities of people based on the information of how we grew up, thinking we're inferior. You know what I'm saying? All right, so We good? Any questions? Any other questions on that? In the earliest human phases of spiritual development, Hansberry contended that Africans worshiped the sun because of its majesty and mystery. As a millennia passed, they came to realize that humans were profoundly and vainly influenced by its forces and power. However, as Africans studied the stars closer, they were able to create societies. So they're studying the stars and using that to base societies, grounded in scientific knowledge. So they base societies grounded on scientific knowledge. So the society is only as powerful as each individual in it. And the whole goal was to have everybody brilliant. That's why Noble Jew Ali, we read the Divine Warning, this, right, body of genius citizens. That's the verbatim that what he said, right? It all goes, it's all, we got to get back to our mind frame of our ancient ancestors, right? We were brilliant, genius, right? Science, arts, linguistics, anything out of hill, we kind of know the space. The measured time invented calendars and charted the seasons that ushered in precise astro-agriculture charts. Interestingly, during the 19th century, and Benjamin Banneker Bay, you know his name is full name is Benjamin Banneker Bay. He created the clock, the time clock. So we see the Rolex today, when we seeing all these watches that aren't digital and they got hands, Benjamin Banneker Bay was the man behind that.
It's also like the White House burned down, dude, right?
The White House burned down?
Yeah, like blueprints of the White House kind of thing. Is that Benjamin Banneker or someone else?
Yeah. The blueprints of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Yep.
In London, you said they got the clock.
Yep. In London got the big clock, that big
Big Ben.
they call it Big Ben. Yep. Right there, right? The big clock in London. But he didn't know he's Benjamin Banneker Bay though. The reason that's important because he was Moor.
Yeah, I was talking about this legit this morning about Benjamin Banneker. I was telling people about how the White House is burned down. Like they just cover up so much history about the originals and things. And yeah, I remember this morning.
Yeah. All right, so these discoveries made it clear to all ancient scholars that the sun was more than just a source of the earth's light, sound, and heat energy. The sun was the principal cause of all forms of life on earth. Although the basic faith systems of these different African groups have been similar, the name by which they called the sun and the form in which they paid homage to it differed. While most ancient peoples worshipped the sun as the king of the gods, in time, they came to realize that the visible sun was not a god itself, but the supreme manifestation of the omnipotent, or all-powerful.
Say that one more time.
So while most ancient peoples worshiped the sun as the king of the gods, in time, they came to realize that the visible sun was not a god itself, but the supreme manifestation of the all-powerful, or the omnipotent, of the all-knowing, right? So everything that we can see is a reflection of the all. We can't see the all. We just see products of what the all manifested. That's all we see.
2 cents.
Sun.
It's kind of a crude joke. It seems like you only make it when they put you in white-facing history. It's like, that means you were someone important when they like, I got to change the color.
Yeah.
Like that thing we did, like,
Bleach you out.
Yeah.
it's the same exact time.
Sure.
Hitler was darker than me.
I told this one that sounds crazy saying this, but I can't find footage showing us. Like the video you see is like, who's that guy who looks?
Right.
I don't know, explain that. I
Only-
learned that.
Get you right.
Yeah. Only person that they ain't bleached out was Saint Maurice, the patron saint of Germany. He the only one you can look at right now, and he's still dark. Everybody else, yeah, everything. Saint Maurice, Saint Maurice, right? Right. But yeah, most of the people they're gonna bleach out. It's a throw off.
Yeah, everybody's dark now. I mean, they do it.
But Hitler's out in the time of video though, so like they Photoshop things like that back then, or just recreated it like on some Hollywood set.
Yeah, when you talk about World War One and World War Two, those were markers. So the first World War One was dealing with how they carved up Africa, how most of Africa, modern day, when people think of Africa, it's chopped up. The French, the English, the British. There's a bunch of colonies over there. There's no Aboriginal people that's the president. It's all
They built this
European,
over there.
modern European running the show over there.
Because the East world trying to take over the West world, so the East world, Africa, became subjects of Europe.
Yeah.
That was black to basically control the West, which is America.
Right. And then once they lock that down, now you got World War II, which is attempting to do what they did in America, how they got us in sleep, to do that, what they call the Middle East. The term Middle East wasn't even created, that's a new term. But all these wars were to consolidate and make pseudo cultures. That's why you got Israel in the Bible, and then you got Israel today. One is trying to depict the old world, one is trying to depict something that got created like 1940. Same thing with Jordan. Same thing with Turkey. There was no Turkey, but it was Turks, right?
Okay.
So these
So the mix of horticulture to become agriculture. Something that's made in a controlled environment,
they made
to
something
be like its nature.
exactly. They created a pseudo situation, passed it around to the people as if it's legit.
Okay.
But they have to take the original people in these areas, either exile them, get them out the way, and set up shop somewhere else, or make them docile where their children just forgot who they are, and they just kind of just go. It's the same play, right? Just like here, we got the Baptist Church, we got the Protestant, we got the Latter-day Saints, we got the Jehovah's Witnesses. There's all these options for our people to go down these pseudo buckets to take them away from their original. So they did that in what they call the Middle East. That was a mission in World War II. This is already on lock. This part of the world already on lock. Everybody done over here. So now we're trying to get the Middle Eastern people. Matter of fact, we're gonna blow up everything over there, all they indigenous cultures, and then have them seek refuge and fly over here to seek a new world now. That's why it's an influx of a lot of Middle Eastern people coming over here, starting a new world, right? Or anywhere for that matter. They come to America. It's a big ticket, right? That's why. And they don't know the people that destabilize them is in the bed. The United States is in the bed with the EU. Because the people that are destabilizing Middle Eastern quote unquote countries, the British, the French, the Dutch, those are all part of the EU. The United States is part of the EU. So they're on the same team. It's the same outfit. But when they come over here, it looks like, oh, it's better, it's bigger. Everybody, what it really is, they want to run away from their culture and get loose.
Move out to the suburbs.
Yeah, that's why their parents, they don't want their daughters messing with Negroes and all that out here. Because they gonna be like, they ain't got no culture. Stay away from them. But that's a case in point, how their children get loose out here. They get more culture, they get into the rap. It be Asians, it be, whatever, people from that part of the world. Yeah, they get loose.
Osmosis.
Yeah. And before we got this knowledge, we was like, man, it ain't that serious. But now that we know, we like, yeah, your mom was right. Your grandma was right.
Right.
Yeah. You should have kept the culture. You were a disgrace. That's how they're looking at you. Your parents looking at you like that, man, what you doing? We got culture. You bringing somebody that don't got no culture. That's the bottom line. Even though they don't say it just like that, but in hindsight, once again, in hindsight, just 2020, that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. You know what I'm saying?
Everywhere they colonize, they got the darker people first. And we wipe them out.
Yeah. I guess
Where you go.
it's hard to see like this whole like the Hitler imagery we see, and I sound crazy when I say Hitler was black, but I can't really fully prove this yet. But I trust the words I've heard. Right. So like that is like the moon landing. I know that's fake, but like is the Hitler's imagery that same level of recreation? Like on a set, like a whole Olympic stadium, like they had that much of a budget 70 years ago to shoot this dude rocking back and forth, saying it right down, like that level of engineering.
Everybody on Zoom, can y'all see the new screen where it says 880 AD, the Convention of Madrid?
That's when recreating history.
You are.
Just a little bit of that.
On the screen, it just shows Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting.
Okay, let me re-put it up.
Hey, Humble there?
Silos, places.
Rosleon come?
Some Masonic actors.
No, he said he had to do some delivery or something.
They put this in script.
Okay. Whoever that Al Noor and
But we know more history, we know.
Ali.
Hanuna, Mutazamaji.
This should be undercover brothers.
Imani, brother Imani, yeah.
Amaru not there either.
Nah, his car broke down, his Kia, his engine shut off. Yeah, man.
Oh damn, that's what I got. I got a Kia Soul.
Yeah. You should look into that. You might get a new one because if you can be like, man, the engine was tripping. Because it was
No,
a recall.
mine's just straight. It's just cosmetic. You feel me? I could drive it. I just don't want to pull up looking all crazy like that. You feel me?
Oh, man, it's all good, man. We need
You
you.
know, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to pull up and they like, damn, put the glass back on, brother.
Talk to me, get some jokes on that car. Get your stripes, cuz.
That's funny. Everybody can see the screen now. The 1880 Convention of Madrid.
Yeah, right. Protection of Morocco,
Okay.
Islam. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna transition because we it's 1 o'clock. We kind of I didn't get a chance to go through the full first segment, but we'll continue next week. I'm gonna transition to some law that we should take notes on just to have. Why is this? Oh. Okay, all right, so you got your notebook to transition to another section. The Convention of Madrid, 1880 AD. And the reason why this is important, because it set the tone for one, about the Americas being the empire, North, Central, and South. And we're not talking about the Kingdom of Morocco in the sense of how most people know it today, the entity that's controlled by the French got created in 1956. All right. So this was effective July 3rd, 1880, and it was ratified by the 1880, July 3rd, 1880, the Convention of Madrid. And it was ratified by the President of the United States, May 10th, 1881. And once we back to Constitution, anything to become law must be ratified. So that's why we're saying the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional, right?
And ratified means voted on by like 2/3 of the people.
That and signed off another time, like okay, we're looking at it, and it's no, yeah, we're gonna sign off on this.
But only
So now-
2/3.
Yeah, that's the vote, but then signed off as well.
So everyone's a sign off.
Yeah.
100% sign off.
Yeah.
Even though it's 2/3 of the vote.
No, everybody that voted yay,
Okay, it's 2/3 of sign off too.
and then it gets ratified by the Congress. So you got the votes, and then you got the ratification by Congress. Like, okay, this happened, right? So
Like a notary.
yeah, so the 14th Amendment was never ratified. And what does the 14th Amendment talk about? Naturalization of citizenship to become a United States citizen.
If we don't claim on it.
If you don't claim your nationality, because you know the United States is not a nationality, right? It's a corporation. So your bloodline is not, what's your nationality? I'm a U.S. citizen. That will be, and if you do talk like that, the whole world will look at you like you're incompetent. They're not going to tell you, but okay, he's one of them. He's one of the minorities in North America, one of the blacks or whatever. They'll just walk past you. Okay.
Double speak.
Right.
No, you think
See more on.
you think you're speaking smart, but yeah,
Yeah, you think you said something intelligent.
you're being nice.
All right, so this is the 1880 Convention of Madrid, a right of protection in Morocco. Clearly, this is before 1956, so there's nothing called the Kingdom of Morocco in the Middle East. Not that was even existed yet during the time of this ratification, right? All right. So Article 15 of this convention states that any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time equal to that which shall have been regularly necessary for him to attain such naturalization, choose between entire submission to the laws of the empire, the Moroccan Empire, and the obligation to quit Morocco, unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was attained with the consent of the government of Morocco. Foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco, according to the rules established by the law of each country, shall be continued to them as regards to all its effects without any restriction. So let's review this. If that was kind of wordy. So in order to be naturalized, you gotta do it with consent. Like I'm relinquishing my nationality to become a US citizen. It can't be underhanded, like, oh yeah, we're gonna just accept you. You was one of us, so yeah, it's over. That's not how I go. You're part of a body or a government. You have to be like, I'm relinquishing my citizenship. The body says, okay, cool, we'll give you that. And then you do your thing. But not just smoothly, oh, I came to North America and the United States gave me 14th Amendment naturalization protection. So now I'm a US citizen. That's not how it works. For one, 14th Amendment was never ratified. That's a whole other issue itself.
But they still act like it's normal though.
That act, that's the key word. They act like it's normal, but it's not normal. They act like it's normal. So now that you know this, yeah, you can't be a US citizen. But we have two ways to look at this now. So now we know about ratification, and now we got more ammo dealing with the Convention of Madrid, stating that in order to be naturalized with a nationality that's not yours, or to denounce your nationality, you have to do it with consent.
So when you're naturalized, that means you're basically part of the game. Like you're in the club.
Okay, so we have a body politic, right? And you got Albions out pledge allegiance because they like what we're doing. They're like, you know what, it's true. It is what it is. I want to be down. We'll naturalize them as a body.
You're in the club.
Yeah, you're in the club.
Okay, and for like American sense to be in the club, you have to have like real ID and a chip and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like all that Google stuff now.
Yeah, driver's license. That's birth certificate.
Medical
security card.
medical record shots. All that.
Yeah.
So that they're changing the game. Like they're adding more to what it means to be nationalized now.
Yeah, they're trying to.
And that's why it's creeping us out of it.
To be them so that we can be subject to their law.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
They're trying to get everybody like to them.
Right.
Hey, I had a question too.
Go ahead.
When they saying any subject of Morocco, they talking when they're talking about the empire, so they're referring to what people think of as the United States. They're talking about North America.
Right. Right.
They're not talking about the Kingdom of Morocco.
Right. Yep. Because back at this date, it was no such thing as that.
Right. Because that was established in 1956. So when they say has been nationalized in a foreign country, what country is? Yeah. So that will be. So they're considering the United States of America as a foreign country, even though it's just a corporation.
Well, at this time, it wasn't a corporation. It was, you had British, you had different modern Europeans, nationalities of people, right? You had British, Dutch, French. Because before the Articles of Confederation, you had 13 colonies. And these 13 colonies, you had an English colony, and the English colony was just English there. English Slavs, right? Dutch colony had Dutch Slav, and they were paying taxes to their headquarters in the Netherlands or Britain and wherever they was at, right?
Rebellion people then too.
Until July 4th, when they declared their independence. That's when that stopped, right? And then these different nationalities of modern European formed a union and called it the United States. All the way up until Lincoln, it was a republic form of government. After they knocked off Lincoln in what you call the Act of 1871, or the Ku Klux Klan Act, loosely, it became a corporation like we know today. Nothing different than Walmart. They dissolved into just a corporation. So, but that's that. But they talking about anywhere. It could be China, Japan, any more that are any subject of the Moroccan Empire that chooses to be naturalized in Japan. It didn't have to be that's just a principle in general, all across the board. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be just the United States. But if they do that, they need to have consent, and then the government gonna sign off of it. Like, okay, yeah, not just because we moved to this area of the earth, we're just subject to being denationalized, right? That's
So,
not.
but Moors, as we're basically prisoners of war, right? Being here, so we have like a dual nationality as an indigenous person and as someone that can use the U.S. ID at times.
Well, when you say prisoner of war,
We still have
Where-
to use their roads. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's not okay. Nothing's theirs unless the people forget that it's theirs, and then now it's theirs by what you call it's cheating. It's the term's called it's cheating. It's a law term.
because my understanding was like only the land can be claimed as ours, but when they pave the roads, then that's when it gets different. Like that's when like we drive on roads or travel, whatever, and that's when they have jurisdiction as United States over people that move on that. Like if you're in the private land, that provides a different element, but they create a world like horticulture where you have to be on roads and land doesn't exist. So that's why I feel like they have us stuck.
It's stuck because the people don't know it's cheat. ESCHEAT. So people are stuck because they don't know who they are, for one. Two, they don't know the laws that go with nationality that drawing that line. Because if it's a full-fledged document called the Rights of Indigenous People, right? And then if you're indigenous, and then when you look through the Inter-American, for example, it's two versions. Look through the Inter-American Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. It says you have the right to traverse on your ancestral lands. So just because somebody paved a road, you're still in America. Case in point, if you own the land and somebody builds a house on it, you let somebody better build a house, they're gonna be paying you rent. You allowed that to happen. You own the land and you rent it out. You rent it out to somebody, and then somebody rents it out. They can do it kind of what they want to a certain extent with your permission. You know, they build something on top of that. Up to it. You still own that though. They're still paying you rent, right? So it doesn't matter. One's dirt, one's land. It's still your land. Still we're talking about latitude and longitude. The latitude and longitude that makes North, Central, and South America and the islands. And that goes up. That's called property to property. That's why even in real estate, when they say, oh, this is your property, up. So if the plane fly over that, they flew in your domain. Everything up. That square, right? So it doesn't matter if it's land or dirt.
There's like a limited space up and down. I mean, like they can take the oil below you, they can take the sky above you with enough like Talmud, they can justify it. I mean,
Yeah, the problem is most of our people just sleep. And whoever got organization is gonna trump people that don't got organization. You know, our opposition are the foreigners are more organized than the people of the land. A lot more, all levels. So let's say we were organized and we went to Bangladesh. We just traveled over there, about 10,000 of us. And they're not organized, but we come in with organization, setting up stuff. We farming, getting stuff up.
like Scientologists did.
Yeah, those Indonesians that are from there, they gonna get in line with what we're doing. Because organization. We got options for them. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's the only problem. Our people here aren't organized. And the people so they're going and running to people to feed them that are organized. We don't know how to farm. So we're going to a foreigner to get food. We don't know how to do medical on ourselves. So we're going to a foreigner to do that. Anything that we should be knowing how to do on ourselves, we're going to a foreigner to do it. So that's why we're wards. Minority wards. Children, infants that we need to be taken care of. So until we show and prove that we're not minority, then things you're saying are gonna keep happening.
In a crude way, it's like having a maid makes you lazy. Like if you don't sweat, you get swept.
Yeah.
We don't do it ourselves, like, we'll do it for us.
Mm-hmm.
We can do them. And they can do what you love. Stuff you want, whatever you do. They're like they use to do everything. On our life.
Okay, so he's coming back at 1:30, 1:15. I just want to kind of just run through this before we close out as much as I can. Article 17. The rights, we're still dealing with the Convention of Madrid. We just read Article 15, we're going to Article 17. The right of the treatment of the most favored nation is recognized by Morocco as belonging to all the powers represented at the Madrid Conference. So Morocco, right? Clear as day. Now we're transitioning into Public Law 857, and that was in 1956, right? So now in this public law, this is a whole nother situation, Public Law 857. Whereas Morocco is now the only foreign country where the consuls of the United States exercise such jurisdiction. So that's where you get today, we got codified manuals such as the Consular Notification and Access Manual. And how we got a body, all really temples of Moors are supposed to operate as a consul, lit, or embassy, even though we're not, in most situations, consulate would signify a foreigner on the land, but it's just distinguishing we're not US citizens.
Because the alternative to counsel would be attorney, right? And that means like you're under the subject of United States law.
Yeah, that's different. That's an attorney at law.
Yeah.
That's an attorney and a consul is two different things. Consul will be just a person that knows law in the body of whatever nationality they're in. Because like I say, if you represent the embassy or a consulate, because consul is short for consulate. So a consulate would be a body of consuls, people that know law.
Okay.
Everybody needs to know law.
Advisory, basically.
Yeah. So one of our citizens go get arrested, we should know the right protocol. Writ of habeas corpus, which is Article 1, Section 10, a writ that you would, file, be like, look, this person needs to be released based on XYZ. XYZ will be nationality and citizenship. And based on the nationality and citizenship, back to their manual, which I put in my book, issued from the Department of State, is a consular notification and access manual on how to deal with non-US citizens that have consulates or temples as consulate, that identify as the nationality. And it even goes so far as to say it's nationality, with somebody that, what does it say, is nationality and citizenship the same? And it says yes. It's at the end of the manual, it's like a yes or no type of deal. So they're telling you right there, your nationality creates a line in the sand. You know what I mean? So that's really the most important thing to kind of know in that space, and to be to know why. That's why it's important to know law, because we go a lot more farther if more of us, knew it. And so, of course, we're not at that level right now, but there's like little baby things we've done. Like I say, one of the Empress's car got towed at Morris Place. We got it out using, exercising that. We wasn't registered with DMV. We just used principles of the manual, the treaty, rights of indigenous people, all the house resolutions that say Moors or Aboriginal indigenous, right? But imagine if it were like 100, 200 people part of the society. And that's why I stress everybody kind of pulling up to the Sunday physical meetings, is because when you got platforms like social media, when people see like a physical group is growing, it's going to be more attractive. And then once we get more people, now we can go to another gear. You know what I'm saying? So it's strategy. You know what I mean? That's why, like, I don't care if I'm tired, I'm gonna pull up. I'm pulling up. I got no days off. Literally, I don't got no days off. But I'm not complaining about it either, because it's a means to the end. All right, so whereas it is the policy of the United States to continue the exercise of extraterritorial jurisdiction in Morocco at such time as it becomes appropriate, therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled that the relinquishment by the President Eisenhower at such time he considers the appropriate of the consular jurisdiction of the United States in Morocco is hereby approved. And that's so the approving of not having jurisdiction in Morocco, that happened in 1956. So that's another part of the game, right? So sections of public law, 857, section 1693, section 4083, or 4083 to 4091, inclusive of 4097 and 4122, is where you can find elements of them saying jurisdiction is relinquished. So as amended or repealed effective upon this date, the President Eisenhower determines to be appropriate for the relinquishment of such jurisdiction, except so far as it may necessary to dispose of the case when pending in consular courts in Morocco. So back to consular courts. Now that you know what consular is, what would be a consular court?
An advisory group.
An advisory group to see, has it been a violation? And what will be the measuring stick to show if there was a violation? The treaty, right? Because a treaty is a contract between two nations people.
Okay.
That's the only issue.
Kind of like a Sharif.
Yeah, your sheriff, right? Sheriff, Sharif. All right. So I'm gonna go through one more thing because time is of the essence right now. So I'm gonna go into, this was in 1906. You can look this up as Citizenship of the United States, Expatriation and Protection Abroad. That's, if you look that up, it's gonna take you to the 59th Congress, second session, House of Representatives. Islam Mahmoud. So, everybody got that?
Congress.
We got, yeah, 59th Congress, second session, House of Representatives. And this is coming from the Secretary of State at the time. And also you can find this by just dealing with Citizenship of the United States, Expatriation and Protection Abroad. That's the broad title, right? So this was in 1906, August 3rd. Page 459 of this session. Quote, this is what was stated. There are strictly speaking no Moroccan laws relating to citizenship of Moorish subjects in Morocco. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country, so they're talking about the United States, non-Christian country, are based entirely upon Islamic code, no part of which treats of subjects of citizenship. Now, as we go on to page 460, there are, however, numerous treaties and conventions between various Christian countries and the Moorish Empire.
So we are a country.
Christian countries and the Moorish Empire. Christian countries would be, when you look up, when you say Treaty of Peace and Friendship, we had treaties with Europeans before anything was called the United States. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship was 1786, 1787, and then the one that got revised in 1836 is between us and the United States, that newfound nation that got created after July 4th, right?
Okay.
But before that,
So how is it a newfound nation if it's not a nation and it's not a country? Like, that's kind of confusing thing to like separate.
no, it's a nation.
The United States is a nation.
Yeah, and that's at that time, yeah, because you had British people, that's the nationality of people. You had French people, you had Dutch people, English people that decided to form a coalition. And we're gonna call, it's essentially called the European Union. That's what they did in a micro level, but they call it the United States of America, but they are not Americans, but it's still the United States because it is a state, because a state is an organized group of people. So technically it is a state, a body.
But it's not a country.
It's not a country. It's not a country. United States is not a country.
But there's no more to keep assuming it's a country. Like it seems like we are really good, like
But when we say, but we're not in this sense, remember, the first paragraph said, I'm sorry, the second paragraph saying Christian countries and the Moroccan Empire. So that's why I say before anything was called the United States, we had treaties with France. The Moroccan Empire and France had a treaty. The Moroccan Empire and Netherlands had a treaty. This was before anything was called the United States. So they're mentioning that in this document, like, you know what? You know, it is proof that it was treaties, right? So
we're in Arabic too, right?
written in Arabic.
So how did we end up losing, okay, so if Morocco already had treaty that was with France and British before the United States colonized. How did France and British allow the Europeans to come over and do it again? To take the 13 colonies without overriding the treaties that were already established. So treaties were already established. Then the United States, they came, opened up the 13 colonies, but
Right.
how were they able to override what was already set up as far as the treaties?
Because once you have French subjects, but that's what it essentially was. You have French subjects over here still paying taxes to the King of France. You had Dutch, or New York will be a Dutch colony, which so the Dutch subjects were paying taxes to their head higher ups, so the King of the Netherlands. British, same thing.
We're all melanated too, right?
All melanated, they're higher ups. The Slavs here weren't, but their higher ups were.
Hmm.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So they declared their independence July 4th. So they were once they declared their independence, they weren't French subjects no more. They weren't Dutch subjects no more.
Broke the contract.
They but you see his power in numbers because they were able to do that with no repercussions. There was enough of them.
They do it like Haiti though. Haiti's still like paying debt, and then like
Haiti's still paying back to.
France, like they got screwed over like long term. Like, it's kind of weird to see like how can the Dutch say, all right, we got these guns, we ain't gonna deal with y'all no more. But Haiti, like they got the same thing, ran them out, but they still like, all right, we'll pay you, leave us alone now. Like that's kind of a weird concept.
Yeah, it's different. I didn't even know that about Haiti. I think something happened later. Like I think it was the Haitian Revolution. They was good for a minute, and then something happened later, and they was like,
French, like we still owe, we still got money to get out of y'all. Like we got still squeezing oil out y'all. Because the rest might be expected to get, like like our projected earnings. But until we get that, we still got our footing in the neck. I mean, like, and that seems like how does that happen with them? Haiti's like the revolutionary thing of the Americans, but for here, it doesn't seem the same. Like European black melanated people took their foot off the Dutch's neck, but they didn't have to pay any taxes over to them. Like that seems like an odd thing for one part of the world, not the other one.
Yeah, from my comprehension, I don't think that like when Haiti, what's his name, Saint Laurent,
Yeah,
the brother, during his reign, it was none of that. It was outright. What you're saying happened later on.
okay.
Like they felt the pressure later on and got weak or whatever. But during the Haitian Revolution, the peak, they outright. You know what I'm saying? They controlled all the resources. They had it on lock. Yeah. Yep. Because he was going against Napoleon. You know what I'm saying? It was a war with Napoleon. Right. So so they disconnected. So they were no longer considered France. The Treaty of France and Morocco didn't apply to these subjects. That they're no longer French subjects. So that treaty doesn't apply to these United States crew. We had to enter into a treaty with the United States, a new formed government. We had to enter into a treaty with that. Now, right. Okay. Citizens in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure Moorish subjects. So you considered Moor or Moroccan until you prove otherwise. You're considered Moroccan, right? So I'm gonna stop right there. We'll pick it up because it's coming at 1:30. But this can be used just like case law, just like any House resolution, just like any this is a congressional record. So all of these are protected under Article 4, Section 1, and it's full faith and credit to this stuff. So keep that in mind. And we want to use this stuff to dealing with regular people, be able to pull it out of the hat, like what's all this stuff. How you know this is this? How you know this is Morocco? How you know this is that? You sure? Like what? Everybody be more take a scholarly approach and just hit them with congressional records. This is not United States records saying that this was the empire. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna stop right there. Then we'll pick maybe Sunday, Wednesday, something like that. Pick this back up. Anybody on Zoom had any? Sharissa, did you have any questions?
Islam, everyone.
Islam.
No, not at the moment.
Okay, okay. Islam, I'll get the ID out to you this week. The book out to you this. You ordered the book too and sent the address?
Excuse me? I'm sorry.
You ordered the book and you sent your address to where to send it already? Or that was just ID?
Yes, I sent it.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'll send it again.
Yeah, it's just the shipping address and what title you want to appear.
Okay.
But if you don't have any questions, we're gonna go ahead and close out with prayer. And that'll be it. Did you look up at
Yes.
Okay.
Judo law, right? All right.
Left on the right. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
the Father of love,
God of love,
peace,
peace,
freedom, and
peace,
justice.
freedom, and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
God's my protector,
my guide,
my salvation,
my
my
salvation,
salvation.
by night and by day,
by night and by day,
through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Noble Drew Ali.
Noble Drew Ali. Amen. Islam.
Islam.
I know.
Everybody
No.
signed the paper?
Yes.
I didn't put my dues in.
It's like,
Okay. All right, Sharissa, yeah, you have a good one. And yeah, if you got any questions, just hit me or whatever. And then yeah, we'll have Zoom on Wednesday.
Yes, thank you. Islam, everyone.
All right, Islam.
Good day.
They would have saw